Support Wrestle Talk!
Give us a subscribe.
A lot of wrestlers treat wrestling for WWE as their main goal in life, the main event they're all reaching for. And while many succeed in reaching that stage and make a good living at it, others get there and realize it's not all it's cracked up to be, or they make it there and flounder with bad creative. Either way, no job lasts forever, apart from me in this one, of course. And wrestlers get released from their WWE contracts and wished well in their future endeavors. And 2019 was no different. So let's take a look at all the names who were released from WWE in 2019, and where are they now? Hideo Itami was the first WWE wrestler released this year on February 22nd, 2019. Itami was called up to the main roster, or whatever you want to call 205 Live these days, after a stop-start run in NXT that was hampered by injuries. Itami was clearly an unhappy chappy, shown in his appearance at the Royal Rumble when he was unsuccessful in capturing the Cruiserweight Championship. He asked for his release shortly thereafter, which was granted. It was figured that Itami was given his release because he would go back to Japan rather than join All Elite Wrestling, which is exactly what happened. Going back to his old ring name, Kenta debuted for the promotion at Dominion in June, came joint third in the G1, turned heel to join Bullet Club, and won the Never Openweight Championship from Tomohiro Ishii. On the same day that Kenta was given his release, WWE also announced they'd come to terms with the release of Tye Dillinger, who, like Itami, had a rough transition from NXT to the main roster, reportedly because Vince McMahon hated the 10 gimmick. Dillinger asked for his release, which was granted. Now going by the name Shawn Spears, he was announced for AEW's Casino Battle Royale at Double or Nothing, signing with the company officially shortly thereafter. He turned heel on Cody Rhodes by hitting him very hard with a chair at Fyter Fest and formed a partnership with Tully Blanchard under the gimmick of the chairman. TJP was also given his release from WWE on February 22nd, though reportedly not by his own request. A report came out that said his firing was for disciplinary reasons, but nothing has come out about that since. He went back to Impact Wrestling and competed in New Japan's Super J Cup, where he eliminated El Phantasmo. He also competed in the Super Junior Tag League, where he and Clark Connors failed to make it to the finals. Finally, on February 22nd, 2019, WWE released longtime backstage producer Arn Anderson after reportedly letting Alicia Fox go out for a house show match despite her being intoxicated. Anderson had been with the company since 2001, and he joined All Elite Wrestling in a similar backstage role, getting a cameo appearance at All Out when he helped Cody beat Shawn Spears. WWE announced they'd come to terms with the release of Stacey Irvin Jr. on March 22nd, who had done little of note during his time in NXT, especially after a concussion slowed down his development. He did wrestle on an episode of TV in February, teaming with Humberto Carrillo against Street Profits, but asked for his release, which was granted on March 22nd. It would appear that Irvin is done with pro wrestling, as he hasn't wrestled for another promotion since his release. Ricardo Miller was released from WWE the following day after having 0 matches, and has had no contact with any other promotion since his release, leading many to believe he's also done with wrestling. On March 27th, it was announced that Jim Ross had decided not to re-sign with WWE after coming back into the fold in 2017. He provided commentary for a couple of events like Raw 25 and the Mae Young Classic, but it was very clear that WWE had only signed him for fear of him doing more work with WOS Wrestling in the UK. He signed with All Elite Wrestling on April 3rd and is one of the commentary team for their weekly Dynamite show. On April 9th, 2019, WWE announced they had released Dasha Fuentes after she made a mistake on Raw. It was later revealed that the mistake she made was saying the word match instead of the word challenge, which seems reasonable. Now using her real surname Gonzalez, Dasha signed with All Elite Wrestling as a co-host for Dark alongside Tony Schiavone. A couple of days later, on April 12th, and Rhino's contract with WWE came to an end, and thus so did his time with the company. He quickly rejoined the ranks of Impact Wrestling, where he attacked Michael Elgin at Slammiversary, even though he was still under WWE contract at the time. He has since fought against and teamed up with former ECW alumni Rob Van Dam for Impact. The next one on our list is slightly trickier to track, as although it was announced on April 12th that Goldust had been released from WWE, it's been reported and speculated that he left earlier in order to finish out his 90-day non-compete clause before AEW's Double or Nothing pay-per-view, where he had an all-time classic with his brother Cody under his old ring name Dustin Rhodes. Rhodes is now a full-time AEW roster member, feuding with Jake Hager and Chris Jericho's Inner Circle. Now I'm going to apologize for butchering the next couple of names. I'm a bit thick and pronunciation is not one of my strongest suits. But here goes. On April 24th, it was announced that WWE had released Shadida Bezizo and Nasia Al-Aria. Bezizo was touted as the first Arab woman to be signed to a WWE contract, while Al-Aria was WWE's first signing from Kuwait. Neither has wrestled since being released. However, they did get engaged in January, so that's lovely news. 2 days later, on April 26th, WWE announced they had released backstage producer Dean Malenko. PW Insider reported that Malenko had done nothing wrong, but WWE were phasing out all of their older producers for younger names like Abyss and Shane Helms. Malenko signed with All Elite Wrestling in May as a senior producer. But a much bigger name was released from WWE less than a week later, when Dean Ambrose left the company after refusing to sign a new contract. He would later recount on Chris Jericho's podcast the numerous problems he had with WWE's creative process during his 6.5-year stint on the main roster, where he won various singles and tag titles. It was first reported by PW Torch that Ambrose wanted to leave after WrestleMania, which then became a storyline on Raw, leading to many people thinking it was all a work and he was staying with WWE. It, however, was not a work, as he left the company on April 31st, 2019, and on midnight of his contract expiring, posted a video that he was now Jon Moxley and had escaped from prison. I still can't quite work out the symbolism. He shocked the world by attacking Kenny Omega to close out AEW's Double or Nothing and has become one of the company's top stars, currently in a feud with Chris Jericho over the World Championship. He's also wrestled for New Japan, where he won the United States Championship, but sadly had to vacate it when he couldn't make the King of Pro Wrestling show due to travel issues. He will return to New Japan in January, where he faces Lance Archer for that title he never lost, hoping to defend it against Juice Robinson on night 2. It really is quite the work. On May 11th, it was reported that NXT commentator Percy Watson would be leaving the company. The move was unsurprising, as Watson had been replaced on NXT commentary by Beth Phoenix, and it's since been reported that Watson is looking to move away from wrestling and into acting. Crazily, we're about to jump from May to October, when it was announced that WWE had fired Eric Bischoff from his position as executive director for SmackDown, a position he'd only held for a couple of months. While Paul Heyman took the same job on Raw and his presence was instantly felt, the same could not be said for Bischoff. It was reported that he was unfamiliar with the current product and didn't know anyone's name, with Brian Alvarez of Figure 4 Online reporting that he'd heard zero good things about Bischoff's run. Tom Colohue of Pro Wrestling Torch added that a contact at Fox told him Bischoff was fired because significant promises were made that we don't feel were upheld. He hasn't joined another promotion in the wrestling world since leaving WWE. Later that month, NXT breakout star Jordan Myles found himself in the middle of Twitter controversy when he accused his employer of being racist. It stemmed from a t-shirt that WWE released for Myles, which looked a lot like blackface. The t-shirt was rightly criticized, particularly by Myles, who then went on a Twitter tirade against Vince McMahon and Triple H, even taking shots at Ring of Honor and their former champion Jay Lethal. Myles came under fire himself for his outburst, exacerbated when it was revealed that he partially signed off on the design. Myles apologized for some of his comments, but on November 13th posted a profanity-laden video where he quit WWE, saying he refused to work for racists. On November 21st, WWE officially released Jordan Myles, who went back to his old ring name of ACH. He made a couple of indie appearances and signed with MLW, but announced on December 7th that he was quitting wrestling altogether because of the negativity he was receiving on Twitter. We thought that might be it for this year, and then on December 8th, WWE announced they'd released 4 more wrestlers, with reports there are more to come in the new year. The first name was one that had been brewing for some time, as Luke Harper was finally released from WWE. You know what that means! Harper expressed his unhappiness in WWE back before WrestleMania, and asked for his release shortly thereafter. His request was denied, and it was reported that time had been added to his contract due to an injury he suffered in 2018. So although he was under contract with WWE until the summer of 2020, it was announced on December 8th, 2019 that the company had come to terms with his release. Harper, who just the week prior had trademarked his old indie name Brody Lee, now has a 90-day no-compete clause, but it's rumored he could join All Elite Wrestling in the new year. Someone else who asked for their release shortly before getting released was Sin Cara. The former Hunico asked for his release on November 11th and was granted it on December 8th, showing up at a AAA event 6 days later wearing his Sin Cara mask. He later announced his new name will be Cinta de Oro. Apologies if I said that wrong, remember I am an idiot. idiot and will continue the legacy of the character after the original performer died in 2016. The Ascension were also released on December 8th after not appearing on any WWE shows for over 8 months. The pair have been announced for a meet and greet at WrestleFest 2 on March 8th, and their first match will be for Extreme Wrestling Alliance on March 21st in an advertised SmackDown rematch. The only other names to quickly cover are the ones who have not been officially released but have been moved to WWE's alumni page. The first is Kacy Catanzaro, who reportedly gave her notice to WWE and retired from pro wrestling in August. Alicia Fox was also added to the alumni page after months of inactivity, and lastly Ronda Rousey was moved to the alumni page after she lost the Raw Women's Championship to Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. Ronda's contract is actually up in 2021, and Dave Meltzer reported in late 2018 that Rousey was going to leave WWE after WrestleMania. She has been mentioned on TV, but there have been no big reports about a potential return, despite being the current favorite to win the Royal Rumble. So that was everyone who was released from WWE in 2019, with a couple of others who were moved to the alumni page. What would you like to see these fine folks do next? Let us know in the comments down below. And click the videos on screen right now to see which wrestlers should quit the promotion in 2020 and who made the list of WrestleTalk's top wrestlers of the year. I've been Luke Owen, and that was wrestling.